Welcome back to Not Your Usual 9 to 5, where we feature unique professions in Singapore and learn a thing or two about the tricks to their trade. My name is Gladys, your show host for today, and we have an up-and-coming special guest today. She is a painter and potter and she's here with us on the set today. Her name is Dawn. Hi, Dawn.
Hi.
She's a bit shy. So it's our first time to the show. Thank you so much for joining us. Maybe you can introduce yourself a little bit to our viewers first.
So I'm Dawn and I'm 24 this year. I'm currently a master's student at LaSalle studying art therapy, and I'm also a painter and potter doing freelance work.
So there's actually a very special reason why we have her on the show today. If you guys want to find out more, stay tuned. Please make sure you like and share this live stream so that more people can come in and watch. And if you have any questions at all, especially if you know someone or if you have kids who want to go into the art industry, make sure to give us a comment, ask us questions, and just stay on. We've got a lot of things for you guys today. It's actually quite fun. We've got an introduction to the works that she does, so you guys get to find out some of the styles of painters that we have in Singapore. We also have a very fun activity. I'm going to keep it a secret first to keep you guys excited, but it's going to be really fun, and it's actually very easy. It was so easy that Dawn could actually just keep that item in her very tiny bag and bring it all the way here. So this is a very simple DIY craft activity, I would say, that you guys can do at home. It's a very fun activity to do with your friends or even with your family, with your kids as well. So if you want to find out, stay tuned all the way, alright? And the last but not least, we have a lot of burning questions for the freestyle reset for the freelance gigs in Singapore, especially like how do you sustain yourself as a painter in Singapore, and really just how do you kind of like tackle all the challenges that you face as a painter in Singapore. All of these burning questions will be answered today, so stay tuned. Make sure to like and share, okay? So we're just gonna check out some of the works that Dawn has done. She actually has some pictures for us, so let's check out the slides. So can you tell us like a little bit more about the things you do? I actually check out your page a lot because your pottery is very nice. I understand you did this yourself.
Oh yeah, so I started doing pottery when I was about 15 years old, back in the School of the Arts, and my friend introduced me to wheel throwing back when we had a break during recess, and I just immediately got hooked. So I would go back every time I had a break, and the teachers would assist me and like give me tips on how I can practice, even though I was not particularly a ceramic student at that time. So I properly started selling my work back last year when circuit breaker started, and my friends and family were all very encouraging, so that's what really empowered me to give it a go. I largely use a lot of rainbow and galaxy colors because they make me really happy, and currently I'm mostly selling cups and bowls because I think that's what Singaporeans prefer to buy as well.
I think it's actually very pretty though. Like,
thank you.
The colors make you feel like the vast sky. I don't know. Just like keeps like a very open-minded and broad kind of like perspective. It's very nice.
Thank you.
So
you want to try?
Oh, I would love to try. Okay, so I can't keep the suspense anymore. We'll be doing pinch pots. How do you phrase that? Is it pinch potting? Pinch pots? Yeah, we'll be making that later. So if you guys want to learn how to do it, you can actually check out what she's holding. This is how easy it is, okay, to make your own clay pottery item. But yeah, let's check out some of the other things that you have done first.
So apart from doing pottery, I also paint. I've been painting since I was 5 years old. And I have had 8 solo exhibitions, with the most recent one being in 2017. And I'm also working on one with American Club now. So this is one of my favorite works, and you notice that a lot of my pieces are abstract works that are very flowy, and the colors tend to cascade and just flow a lot.
There's a lot of gradient as well.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of people assume that abstract work is just very haphazard and spontaneous. And I've had people tell me like, oh, you just anyhow splash here and there. I also can, you know.
But it's not a very nice thing to say.
It's actually a very like manipulated process. It's very intentional. I have to do a lot of composition planning and sketches beforehand. And you can see here that I spend a lot of time also studying fluid dynamics of what acrylic paint and other solvents look like when they interact with each other. So for example, when you layer on white over black, the white will sink and then the black will float because white is more dense. And so I really like to have abstract works that describe these sort of perfect moments of expression as described by Lisa Hines. They are largely manipulated because you can see how in this wave over here, it starts on the first third of the painting and it ends on the last third.
Oh, we're going to like technical terms here. I'm not an art student.
So it's really just more of trying to make an aesthetic piece without looking like I planned it too much, without looking like it's very, very structured. But at the same time, it is very intentional. Oh, and so I can start telling you about how I started painting in the first place. So when I was 5 years old, I went to Ho Chi Minh with a group called Children with a Mission, and it was with a church program in order to help distribute food supplies and raise funds for the needy in Vietnam. So at that age, I went into the hospitals and the provinces, and I saw lots of children with like tumors and they were burn victims, and children with like deltoid atopy, which is this like degeneration in the back that prevents them from like moving their arms, and also children with club feet and cleft lip. So it was really quite a memorable trip because I saw all the different things that the poor went through, especially because of after World War II, the Vietnamese had eaten the crops that were poisoned by Agent Orange.
Oh.
Yeah, so a lot of the children that were born during that time, they were deformed. And so we came back to Singapore and there was a fundraiser, but I was the youngest in the whole program and I couldn't participate because all my friends were baking cookies and washing cars and I was just too young to join them. So at that time, my mom wrote an email to her friends asking for anyone who donated $250, which is the cost of one single surgery. And that would change their life because they would be able to eat and speak properly. For the cleft lip children, they could just sew back the upper lip and they could go to work and not depend on their parents anymore. So yeah, that's how it started, and my mom raised 25,000 Singapore dollars with the paintings. And then when I was 8 years old, we had another auction, and we auctioned for the same organization, which is called Vietnam Outreach. So if anyone wants to donate to them, it will be great as well. They are a non-profit organization. And so at 8 years old, we raised 15,000 for them. And every year since then, we collaborated with different charities in order to raise funds through paintings. So
Is
yeah,
that
that's
like one of your first few?
Yeah, I did that when I was 9, and a lot of the paintings that I do were quite big in comparison to me. Yeah. So over the years, you can see how the paintings, they have like a similar style, but they still evolved in a way. This is in collaboration with the Spanish Embassy back in 2008.
2008. How old were you when you did that? You must have been very young.
Yeah, maybe definitely before PSLE. Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, this is one of the most recent ones in 2017. Yeah, you can see how the bold stroke contains the fluid motion that is like pouring out of it. Yeah, so yeah.
Wow.
And I also like to really get into the paint and touch it and like move along with it. Yeah, which is why like maybe today we can try that with clay.
Yeah, sounds good. Okay, so we're done with the slides. We'll maybe like try to understand a little bit more about the different kinds of crafts that you do, because it's not just painting, there's also pottery. So today we have a very simple activity to do with you guys. If you have clay at home, I'm not sure if you have, but if you do, you can kind of like make pinch pots with us. But if not, check in on this video so you can get an idea of how you can make it yourself at home. It is a very fun activity with your kids and even friends around you. So Dawn has some clay, and I'm not sure how to start it all, so this is where I take your instructions.
I'm just gonna pass you some. This is a ball of stoneware clay.
Oh wow, it's very warm.
Yeah. It has been recycled before, so actually clay can be used over and over again if you don't fire it.
Oh, okay. So you can kind of like make the shape that you want, and then if you don't, you just like remodel it again.
Yeah, so for clay, it's a very humbling medium because it's something that it really teaches you, to work on the craft and refine your skill, because I suppose that small things can go wrong in the process. It's super long and tedious process. So I'm just gonna start talking about how we can make a pinch pot before I delve into like what the actual process is. So with the ball of clay, we're just gonna hit it gently and rotate it at the same time in order to make a sphere.
Oh, a sphere.
Yeah,
okay.
And you can use the palm of your hand to form that concave shape, and then hit it at the top so that it molds gently into the shape of your hand.
Oh, while you were talking, I was actually like flattening it. So now I have extra work to make it into a ball.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm just gently rotating it and hitting the top part, so allowing it to really follow the shape of my palm on the bottom.
Mine looks mashed.
No worries. Honestly, yeah, it's a very humbling material because it's a very visceral and sensory experience, and actually a lot of the work that our ancestors have done have always started with clay, especially when they were doing storytelling or they were trying to make tools or express themselves. It all started with a very humble material from the ground.
Actually, what's the difference? Like now we're doing pinch potting, right? There's like this other kind of pottery where there's like this machine. What's the difference between the two?
Pinch pots are made through the technique of hand building, which means that you just use your hands in order to make the product, and just purely like your hands and various tools on the table. When you use the wheel, which is nowadays they have the electronic wheel, and in other places they have like a manual wheel where they will actually like kick it in order to make it rotate, those are used in order to make more symmetrical products that are sort of maybe like mass made as well, because it's way faster. For this, you concentrate on one single piece, and you can make more organic shapes that are asymmetrical as well. So you can use both techniques, but I would say this one is definitely you can see the actual prints that you make, and yeah.
Oh, okay. So I guess essentially they are the same kind of pottery making. They just use like different techniques to make it.
Yeah.
Okay. So once again, for those of you guys on the live stream who have just joined us, this is not your usual 9 to 5, and today we're with up and coming painter and potter Dawn here. Right now we're making a pinch pot. And why pinch pot? Because we use our hands to pinch it into the shape of a pot, sort of something like that. And I know there's actually been a trend going around, right? A lot of people want to take pottery classes and they want to make their own pots and pans and cups and whatnot. But actually, today I learned that you can actually make it yourself at home with just a ball of clay.
Yeah.
And you don't have to take very expensive classes outside. That's a trick and a budget hack. But anyways, so moving back to the topic, I am now learning how to make my very first pinch pot from Dawn. If you guys are into learning a fun activity that you can engage in with your friends and family members, stay tuned. Make sure to like and share as well. Okay, so it's still not really a ball, but is this possible?
It's okay. Oh yeah, it looks quite spherical. So once you've gotten your ball, you can use your non-dominant hand to hold it. And then with your dominant hand, we'll use your thumb to make a little indent in the middle.
Okay.
And then we'll gently squeeze with the 4 fingers behind.
Squeeze.
So once you push your thumb in deeper, this will be the center of the vessel. So this is like the whole, let's say if you're making a pencil holder or like just a trinket box maybe, this will be the hole. So you'll gently squeeze with your thumb and your fingers, and you'll rotate it at the same time so that there will be an even distribution of pressure throughout the whole piece, and the walls, the aim of it is to make the walls even.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, and particularly even at the base and at the sides as well. So the distance, you can feel here, the bottom of the pot should be, and the tip of your thumb in the middle should be the same distance as the walls at the side as
Of
well.
your thumb. Wow, this is a lot of... Okay, let me try. So I gotta like push it out
Yeah.
and kind of like make it very even.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys can see. Let me know if y'all want to see like the pots closer in distance. We'll try to like make that happen for you. I kind of forgot that, wow, it's actually a very tiny piece. Actually, it looks like a uneven distribution of space.
This is mine, you can have a look.
Oh wow, yours is very deep. Mine is like a very shallow one.
You can push it in a little bit deeper to maximize the amount of clay that you have.
Okay.
So that the clay at the bottom is pushed to the sides.
Okay. Let me try.
How do you feel?
It actually feels very nice. It's kind of therapeutic. I can imagine myself like just playing some music at home alone and just like making my own shapes.
Yeah, it's a very slow and repetitive process. You can even see like the indentations that my thumb makes. They're in like a spiral motion.
Yeah. Wow, this is actually quite fun. Oh, I'm so proud of myself. Does it look quite even?
Yes, it does.
Okay, then let me show you the indent I've made.
Yeah, so you just keep going at it until you are satisfied with the piece. And actually the process is super long drawn even after you're done hand building. So once the piece is complete, you actually have to wait for it to dry for a minimum of 3 days, and it has to dry completely. If not, it will be inclined to explode in the kiln during firing. Yeah, because it needs to just be completely free of any form of moisture and before you fire it.
Has it ever exploded on you?
I haven't had explosions, but I've had cracks before.
Oh.
Yeah, so I think it's also a very humbling process because you learn along the way through a lot of mistakes, and it's quite difficult to tell someone like the appropriate thickness to keep something at. It's only by experience that you actually learn, you test the boundaries of the material and you see like, oh, I can't push it this far, or I can push myself further in that sense. So once it's dry for after 3 days, you can fire it in a kiln. At home I have an electric kiln that I bought during circuit breaker.
Wow.
And it's HDB friendly, so I'm very happy. It's very safe. So I fire it at 900 degrees Celsius. So that's a biscuit firing, and at that point in time, the piece becomes as hard as a biscuit, and it can still break. So at that point in time, you can apply the glaze and then fire again at about 1200 degrees Celsius.
Wow, these are very specific instructions for any of you out there watching and you really need some advice, right? This is the one. Actually, can I like request for a close up so that like the audience can see the pinch pots better? Okay, we'll try to make that work for you guys, but if not, bear with us. Okay, so I've kind of like made it a bit deeper. Then what do I need to do now?
So right now you can afford to make the walls a bit thinner, and you can pinch them till they create like more height.
Oh yeah, yours is looking more like a bowl now.
Oh yeah, so I suppose this is the appropriate technique if you want to create more like bowl-like shapes. Yeah, as opposed to really tall columns, I would recommend a different method for that.
Okay, let me try to kind of like flatten it. So what do you like usually do? You dry it out, you put it in a kiln, and then you paint it?
Yeah, you glaze it, and then you fire it again at 1200 degrees.
Oh, is that like a different kind of color required compared to like the usual paints you use?
Yeah, so the glazes are a mixture of many different chemicals that you have to weigh out. So back in uni when I went to Loughborough for exchange, we were able to look at very specific chemicals that we wanted to add, and then we could weigh them. But we don't really have the facilities here in Singapore, so it's more convenient to just get like commercial glazers for pottery and fire them. Yeah.
Oh, so in a way, like the details are not as available here.
Yeah, I would say so, because it requires a lot of equipment, particularly a very well regulated like ventilator, because it's quite toxic to inhale like all those chemicals.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
How's your pot looking?
I'm trying to show everyone what I've done. It doesn't look very impressive.
No, don't say that.
Okay, I'll have confidence in my pot. It looks very usable. I think I can put some soup in here. Maybe
even a breakfast cereal.
for maybe like a 3-year-old kid, maybe. I made it like I think maybe I need to like make it deeper so that you can kind of like put more stuff in it. How do you make sure that it doesn't crack? Because right now I see that there's like a lot of mini cracks here.
So you use your thumb to just smoothen out the edges.
Have you ever made pinch pots with your friends, like as an activity?
Oh yeah, we just did it last week.
Oh.
Yeah.
So the pottery on your site and the ones that you sell are not made from like pinch pots?
No, so I generally use wheel throwing in order to make sets. I think because people generally want to buy like matching bowls and cups, and so in order to get very precise shapes and symmetrical ones, I use the wheel instead.
Actually, there's like a high demand for like pottery making classes.
Yes,
do you have your
is.
own? Like make your own class?
I do have my own, but I only take private classes because I don't have the equipment in order to handle like large groups yet.
Oh, okay. And I guess that's nice too. A lot of people prefer like one-on-one coaching.
Yeah, I think it makes a good class, especially for anniversaries or just spending time with family. Yeah.
So how many people can you take in one go? Just one, or if it's like a couple, are you able to take two?
I would take a maximum of 4 people.
Oh.
Yeah, and then we would learn hand building as well as wheel throwing, and we would take turns.
So how many of that wheel throwing?
Oh, I only have one wheel, so that's why I would task them to do hand building, and then we would have like one-to-one sessions on the wheel.
Okay. Sounds nice though. So it's very cozy. It's like a home session.
Yes. But I wouldn't have started if not for people asking me to do the classes. I wouldn't really have the confidence to like put myself out there just yet.
So you actually started with like requests lah.
Yeah.
Actually, that's how people start actually. It's actually very nice. Dawn is a very patient teacher. She's also a very encouraging one. If you guys have ever had experiences with ones who kind of like put you down subconsciously, well, you'll never have that with Dawn.
Honestly, I think when it comes to art making, our inner critic can have a lot of power over us at times. Which is why I think this element of play is really important when you're engaging with art.
Like kind of helps you to appreciate what you're doing and not be so harsh on it. Also
to not listen to the inner critic so much, not to be so critical or like judgmental to ourselves. I mean, yeah, a lot of the times when I'm doing art making with like whether art therapy clients or just like people attending my workshops, they tend to be very shy about the product that they are engaging with, when it's just honestly an expression or just a connection with the material, and you don't need to be apologetic about that.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm starting to really love my product. Look at these guys.
Yeah.
It's actually very nice though to hold on to the clay and kind of like just pinch it into the shape that you want. So I'm guessing like I get to be really creative and kind of just like make it any way I want it.
Yeah, so after this, you're able to sort of alter the shape in any way. You can make it into a heart shape or like a flower. So over here I have a heart.
Okay,
Or you can make a flower, or you can even attach like other parts to it in order to make it into like an animal, like a giraffe with a body made out of a container.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. But for you, what do you usually do? Like standard shapes, but you kind of like play around with the glaze? Because for me, what really stands out is the choice of your
Yeah.
glaze.
I think where I'm able to play the most with the colors because I think also, you know, when we're adults, we tend to be very focused on like making things perfect and beautiful, but I feel like my childlike self coming out when I'm able to play with more rainbow colors and galaxy glazes.
Yeah, I can see that from your dress also. Very colorful. Some elements from your glaze colors as well.
Yeah, I think that like just purely engaging with the material is just brings out a very childlike aspect of myself.
I see that like you talk a lot about being in tune with yourself and like accepting your art and your craft and everything. So what's the reason behind you going into art therapy?
So I think as an artist, I am a really sensitive person, very emotional person, and I used to be very apologetic about that because I mean, having been brought up in an Asian society, we're all about saving face and, you know, acting right and being proper, and I think yeah, I sort of learned to hide my emotions or see it as a weakness for being too emotional. But now I think it's a strength, and especially this ability to listen to people and empathize with them, whether it's vulnerable communities that I work with or when I raise funds with my art. I have worked with people from National Cancer Center, the Kidney Dialysis Foundation, New Caris Mission Halfway House, and AWA. So I mean, working with all these people, I'm able to connect with vulnerable groups really well, and I think that is one of my strengths. And also, since art is something that I'm really passionate and skilled in, it's where my strengths lie. It's also a very good intersection of what I'm passionate about, what I'm good at, and what I think is meaningful.
Oh wait, there's like actually a
Yeah, it's the ikigai.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I see where you're going. So art therapy is sort of like helping people go through something through art. Is that what it means?
Yeah, so art therapy is a very human-centric way of talking to someone and hearing them, working through their healing with them through art. So a lot of the time when you're working with vulnerable communities, a lot of them don't really know how to express themselves verbally, and art is a really good medium to break those boundaries. So you can actually, everything that you make it can be symbolic. So when I'm doing art therapy, maybe you can even use this as a way of talking to them. So you can say, does this represent like your heart and what's in it? What would you put inside if you could describe, you know, your heart? Or what do you want to take out? What is weighing you down? So art can be used to represent symbols, and it can be used to evoke emotions as well. So we are also able to use different mediums to direct clients into going through their healing in different ways. So for instance, very fluid mediums and very soft mediums are known to evoke more emotion, especially in clients who are not so in touch with their emotions. Yeah, and on the other hand, clients can be more emotionally regulated if you do more structured things with them, like Zentangle or like creating mandalas with markers. So those will help regulate emotions more.
Oh, okay. So I guess it's a very great way for, especially for those who don't know how to express themselves with the words, or they can't like make firm what exactly they're feeling. At least they get to show it through a different medium. That's really interesting. So, how long more do you need until you finish?
I have a year left, and I'm also doing clinical placement at an addictions rehab center.
Okay. Like right now?
In a month's time. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. So did you go into it right after you finished school?
Yes, I did. I jumped right into it because I knew exactly what I wanted to do.
Wow, actually it's very inspiring because I don't know, somehow like I've always known you to be a very charitable person and like someone who's really into volunteerism. So now that you are able to kind of like put it into what you're passionate about and still like make it work for you in terms of like economy, I think that's really like something for people to learn about. Yeah. It's like a lot of the people I know have passion in something, but they're not exactly sure how to make it work. Like, it could be that they find that it's not profitable, so they can't do it, they have to put it aside and go into something that fits into that 9 to 5. But then it might not make them happy necessarily.
Yeah.
So it's really about like finding what works for them in all ways.
It can definitely be really, really hard in Singapore, especially when, you know, coming from an art school, you sort of grow up with the feeling that like the general public doesn't really see like, a future in the arts, you know. But on the other hand, I think just being very, very passionate about what I do and seeing my friends in engaging with art as well is very inspiring, and it just spurs us on to continue in spite of all the challenges ahead. Yeah.
What's your biggest motivation behind like continuing what you do and like even going to all these art therapy and all that?
Yeah, actually I can show you more pictures. So honestly, what inspires me most is the
Okay, so we'll check out the PowerPoint slides now. And you're showing us a painting in mid-process.
Yeah, what inspires me most is really engaging with the material. It's just that pure moment of that period of time when I'm working on a painting or doing a sculpture, and I'm just fully engaged in the flow, and then time passes so fast. You know, it's like I'm in my own bubble. So when I'm engaging with the medium, that in itself is enough fulfillment for me to continue. And I extend this in a different sort of experiment that I did earlier last year with a photographer, Jasper Johnson, and I was able to really use my body to start working with charcoal, and there were no limits as to the size that I could explore. So this pure engagement with even like right now, like feeling the clay in my hands, or like just working with the medium, that in itself is enough drive for me to continue.
Yeah. I guess it's really pure passion for the arts. It's really interesting. So this is what you call gestural painting as well?
Yeah,
right?
just gestural painting.
So what defines gestural painting? Like painting with your body? Or I don't know how to understand it.
You don't really have to paint with your body, but I do love to watch those draw to perform artists on Facebook, and where they use so many different types of mediums to push the boundaries of what it means to create a painting, like what kind of materials they use. They can use like powder or like shaving cream, or just, you know, all sorts of mediums to create very expressive work. And some of them even use like broomsticks, or they paint nude, you know, those kind of things. So it's really about just creating a very large scale expression of your inner world.
Do you feel like people need sort of like experience, or they need to formally learn in order to be able to do it? For example, what we're doing now, pinch potting, or even like gestural painting, do we need to formally have education for it, or?
I wouldn't say that it's a must, but it's good to have, definitely. I mean, I'm very, very grateful for the arts education that I had at SOTA, and it introduced me to so many types of mediums, and it gave me an understanding of the different artists that have used them before me. And with that context, I'm able to take what I know and then either push boundaries or better appreciate the medium for what it is. But I wouldn't say that it's a prerequisite, you know, to start engaging with the material, because after all, it's really about what you want to do and how you want to engage with the medium.
Okay, because I actually have like friends who are very interested as well, and then they kind of like draw, they sketch, they paint in their own time. And I guess like a common question is always like, how do you make it profitable, or how can you continue doing it without like, you know, having to lose out on something else? So they would be like, should I study it or should I just continue making it like a hobby or, you know, like go further into it? That's why just asking for them.
Yeah.
But side note, or maybe back to the main note, is here is the update on my pinch pot. This is the design. I'm not really sure what I was going for.
No, it's really cute. It reminds me of the background in SpongeBob, the flowers that they have.
Yeah. Yeah, even though the edges are a little bit dry, I haven't kind of like smoothened it out. So for those of you on the live stream who have just joined us, once again, I'm here with a very up-and-coming painter and potter. Her name is Dawn, and today she's teaching us how to make pinch pots on your own. We're kind of making it now. Her pot just looks very, very nice and very...
It's just a simple bowl.
Yeah, but it looks very, very... how do I put it? It's just very pleasing to the eye. Mine is kind of just like all over the place.
No.
Maybe that's how my thoughts are. You know, uneven edges, dried out, a little bit crumbly even. But yeah, and whereas hers is very smooth. You can tell that she's experienced lah, basically. So for those of you wondering, right, it's actually very easy to make this yourself at home. It's a very fun activity to do with your friends and your family members. Dawn actually just had this activity with her friends last week. How do you start? Is the clay easily attainable? Where can you find it?
So I get my clay from a local supplier. His name is Benson, but I don't know what his shop is called. Well, but you can get it at any pottery studio. They will definitely sell clay. And yeah, it's very simple. But if you want to just try it on your own, I would advise you to just work with air dry clay.
Air dry clay. Oh right, because this is wet and then you have to wait for it to dry.
Yeah, but the clay that we're working with today is stoneware clay. So there's many different types of clay like earthenware and raku clay, but it just means that the different types of clay correspond to different like fire rings and different glazes involved, and they will have like varying effects. So air dry clay is very beginner friendly, as opposed to, you know, going to a studio and firing your works. But I would also encourage that because it's a very different experience in itself.
So, okay, so obviously with a studio you get all the help, right? And they have all the equipment, it's very easy to engage in. But what about air dry clay? Does that mean you don't need to fire it?
Yeah, you don't need to fire it.
Oh.
You can simply wait for it to dry. You can paint on it with any like acrylic or poster paint, and then you can glaze it with any kind of varnish.
Oh, and then, so basically you just leave it out in the air to dry.
Yeah.
You paint it and then let it dry again, and then
just varnish it, that's all.
Varnish is sort of like the outer coat.
Yeah, just an outer coat to protect it.
Oh, that's really easy. Is it affordable to kind of like play around with it?
Yeah, I would say you can get all these things at Art Friend or Popular.
Oh, okay. I feel like I've never known about this like my entire life.
Oh.
I knew like Play-Doh maybe, but air dry clay and all these kind of stuff that you can actually just kind of like pinch on your own.
Yeah,
At home I never knew.
Play-Doh never dries. Like never ever dries.
Wow, okay. Now I know, it's actually a really fun activity, especially like with all these stay-home encouragements, right? Wow. Oh, I should have rolled up my sleeves though.
Oh, it's okay, you can just wash it right off, it's okay.
Oh, it doesn't stay.
No, it doesn't
stain.
stain.
Okay, that's nice. I'm kind of like very done with my overly decorative piece.
No lah.
But it's really fun though.
Yeah. It's just, honestly, it's great. You just don't have to be so critical of yourself.
Wow. Okay. So I guess if I don't like it, usually I can just like crush it back into a ball and then make a new shape again.
So if you don't like it, you can wait for it to dry. Then I will put it in water and wait for it to dissolve before I put it on a plaster bed, which removes all the moisture, like sucks out all the moisture, before I wedge the clay, and then I can bring it to you like I did before the show started.
Oh, okay. That's cool. Okay, so this is about it. This is our pinch pot. Can you show everyone this very beautiful piece of bowl? It's very simple, but it looks very nice. Kind of like tip it over to the camera so they can see. Wow, it really looks very nice. We need like a side-by-side comparison.
No.
This is, okay, it's cute. I love it.
Yeah,
and
cute.
that's fine. Oh, now it's kind of like evolved into, I was going for like a circular and symmetrical one. But now it's kind of like square-ish, like longer.
Yeah.
I like it though. You know, like when they go for art jamming, right? Then you get to like paint on the canvas. Usually I kind of just take a look at a reference and I don't follow the instructions. Like, I kind of just go however I want. So it's kind of like messy, unintentionally, but it sort of like paints a picture. This is exactly how it went as well.
It's all about just enjoying it, right?
Yeah, it is. Okay, so that's about it for our pinch pot session. If you guys want to find out more about how you can enjoy this at home with your friends and family and you missed out the earlier part, either watch the replay or ask us some questions in the comment section below, okay? For those of you who have just joined us, please continue to like and share so more of you guys out there interested in arts can find out more. We're also gonna like find out a bit more about Dawn, about her journey as well. We learned a little bit about your backstory and how you started, which is very incredibly astounding in my opinion, because at age 5, how old is that? Like, you're not even in kindergarten, right?
No, not.
Like, how do you even, like, I can't even write alphabets properly at age 5. How do you paint?
Honestly, I can't even remember, but my mom told me, so I have to believe her.
I'm pretty sure your mom is right. Yeah, that's really, really incredible. Do you have any tips for people who want to go into arts and crafts?
I think,
Or do you want to go according to that?
no, I just have like one picture to show. So one tip that I have is really a lesson that I took away from working with clay.
Okay, so we'll go back to the slides to show you guys what it is. Oh.
Yeah, so well, in working with clay, you honestly face so many disappointments and struggles because it is such a demanding it's such a demanding material. You need to know exactly like what you're doing before. I mean, because you stand to have a lot of things like cracking and breaking in the kiln, or even during the process of throwing. If you have tried like wheel throwing on the electric wheel, it is extremely tedious to learn because you have to learn like centering it and then making sure that everything is even, and even small things like lifting up the piece to put it onto a board can just damage the whole thing if you're not careful. So along the process, there's so many things to learn, and it's just very humbling because you learn that the clay is like sort of reflective of myself, I think. Like so many times, you encounter different obstacles and make mistakes, and sometimes you get down, but it's all about like the process in itself. When clay can be recycled and you can like pick yourself back up again, and don't give up. So that would be like my number one tip, and to also keep this this balance between like attaching and detaching with your work, because if I was so attached with every piece that I made, I would definitely not be able to get to where I am, because I would be like crying over the spilled milk, and if I maintain this like sort of just a bit of detachment, I'm able to continue, but at the same time I need to be attached enough to be like proud of what I produce. And I also do like quality checks where I like break my pieces that do not pass a certain standard, that unless I'm proud of it, I won't like upload it on my website. Yeah, so in order to keep myself in check, I need to maintain this balance of like being attached and detached at the same time.
Well, that's dropping some real big knowledge here. Because I think it's very, very difficult to do.
Yeah.
Like it's definitely much easier to say it, but to have such a good balance and be able to really feel and do that is very, very challenging.
Yeah, sometimes you create a piece that you never thought you could make before, and then like so sayang, right, that you're like so focused on this achievement that you don't want to like try anything new or like push new boundaries. Yeah, so for me it's also like learning to let go when I sell my pieces or when I break them, that they don't pass the quality check.
I think like what I gather from what you have said, right, is that it is very important to make meaning of what you're doing, because honestly, for someone who is not really thinking about the clay that they're making, right, they can easily miss up on all the lessons from clay work, but it's because you're very intentional in what you do and you make meaning of the failures, the successes, and all of that. That's how like you kind of grow as an artist and a craftsman. And I guess that's like the biggest takeaway, right? Even for a lot of people, even in other industries who are very afraid to try out. Even for me, myself, who started out as a host, a lot of people can be very afraid to start. But if you make meaning of what you're doing and you see it as a lesson and like how this is a lesson to bring you somewhere further, it actually helps you like keep going on.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess that's a very like important tip for a lot of us. Do you find that the path that you have chosen is very different from others around you?
Yeah, I definitely think so. Especially when I look at my peers and then, you know, whenever we meet up, our conversations are vastly different. You know, when we're talking about work and what we're up to. But yeah, I appreciate that difference also. Sometimes I do feel quite small and like I wish that there was a bigger arts community where we can like share and bounce off ideas. Not saying that it's completely absent in Singapore, but I just sometimes wish that, you know, more people could be inspired to try out new stuff. So yeah.
I completely understand.
Yeah, as a dancer, I think you understand as well, right?
It can be a very lonely experience, but I think it really depends also whether how lonely do you want it to be. I mean, in your craft, sometimes you have to be alone to kind of grow from what you're doing, but sometimes you kind of like need a community. So one lesson that I got from our guest last week was that she said she wants to grow the community, because if you're growing the community, you're growing yourself. It could be in many ways, right? Like more people are interested, so they come to you to take lessons. That's one very practical reason. But in another sense, it's also like in a very spiritual way, because then you have more people along the way with you. They're not your competitors. They are people who enjoy the same craft as you. But I guess it's like a perspective that not everybody would take, you know? So it's up to us to find people who have the same thoughts along the way.
Yeah, exactly.
Have you met anyone like that in your school?
In my school, I think people in my master's program come from very different backgrounds, but I have, over the course of the past few months, people have reached out to me to like join, you know, this type of thing, like talk shows or podcasts, and through those experiences, I'm able to connect with a lot of like-minded individuals who are very, very passionate about what they do, and then we talk about, you know, whether it's in, like, we talk about linking topics like race and, you know, all these things that don't make me feel so alone anymore. So, yeah.
So what is, I'm pretty sure one of the biggest challenge as an artist and as a painter in Singapore would definitely be making it financially sustainable, right? So how financially stable is it for an artist in Singapore?
Honestly, not very, but I wouldn't say that it makes it any less rewarding, because even, you know, right now as I create more work, every single piece has to count. You know, when you bring it into the kiln to fire, do you fire that piece that might crack, even though it's absolutely great and you're proud of it, or do you stay safe and you save the clay that could potentially be wasted, you know? A lot of material costs, a lot of time cost goes into everything, and when I sit down to dedicate like 8 hours a day to wheel throwing or glazing, and I come out of it feeling like maybe I didn't do so well, it can be very demoralizing. But at the same time, like once I fire my pieces and then I'm able to really examine them in the sunlight and everything, then I think it's very rewarding. In terms of exactly how practical and financially stable it can be, I think it depends on, especially on the season, because I do notice, like every other retailer, that I get more orders during like festive periods and things like that. So I think having multiple like income streams is very important, which is why I also do workshops and why I paint and do pottery at the same time, instead of just focusing on one single income stream.
I guess that's very important. And for one thing's for sure, if you're good at it, you don't need to worry that there's no income stream, because if you're good at it, people will come to you, be it for like coaching or to buy your works.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is also coming out of my shell, because as a very private, like as an artist and as a private person, I prefer to like work alone without any cameras. But then because I need to market myself, I do have to like film myself sometimes when I'm working.
Very important.
And then I have to like come up with TikToks and it's like, so I don't really know what
So
I'm
you have
doing.
a TikTok account?
I do.
Wow.
Yeah, which, you know, I have to push my own boundaries and like really communicate and market my own brand, even though it might not be, even though being loud is not something that I want to be.
I completely understand. And as you guys can see, she's a very gentle person, even here on the show. But I completely get it. You know, for the longest period of time, even in uni, right, no one knew that I was hosting. I've never like shown it on my socials.
Yeah.
Only after I graduated, and then I also saw the need for to share what I do, to share the passion, to share the love, because people need to know, right, in order to like what you do as well. So yeah, we all learn a lot of things along the way. So I popped the biggest question, right? Is it financially stable? And I think I really learned a lot from what you have said as well. It really depends on how you want to make it to be, right? Dawn has managed to come up with a couple of income streams that is all related to the arts and crafts that she's doing. And also she's going into arts therapy, which is also another source that could be potentially stable for you in the future. And it's still almost exactly whatever you're doing now, right? But you're just sharing it with other people.
Exactly. I think also there's the rising relevance for mental health these days, especially since COVID brought about more awareness to maybe elderly staying at home and even caregivers. So like mental health is such an important topic these days that I think that the industry it will continue to grow.
Yeah. Of all the important things that you're saying right now, right, can I just make a very small side note that making pinch pots during our show was such a good idea. Because like, you know how we like to fiddle with things or kind of just like move around when we're talking to people, right? But I get to kind of like fiddle with my pot and it helps me calm down while we're talking. It's actually a very, very great and therapeutic session. So one thing I learned, right, is that there's actually a lot of people with small to big, or even like they're not sure of it, they have some sort of like mental health concern with them, and a lot of it actually relates to anxiety. People with anxiety tend to kind of like fiddle a lot, they bite their nails, or they just need to like grab onto something, they can't sit still, right? So now we have a solution. They can make pinch pots. And then update, this is what mine looks like right now. It's grown a little bit taller.
Looks like a coral.
Yes, but I do like the sea. Just that I'm a bit afraid to dive because I'm afraid that they bite me. But this is the update, and this is Dawn's. Oh, it's gone a little bit like.
It looks like an oyster shell. Now.
Yeah, it's a little bit more oval now. It's quite nice.
Thank you.
So I think if we want to make it stand, it's gotta press it down a little bit, right?
You can actually take maybe like a wooden bat and like pat the bottom, so that it sits. But I mean, if you're not particularly concerned, then you can just like rest it like that.
I have one question. Whenever you kind of like publish your works and you sell it, right? Do you stamp the bottom?
I do, yeah.
Oh, that's really cool.
Especially because I have some collectors that, you know, they collect a few pieces and they're like so appreciative of just having this like line of work done by the same person.
That's really sweet.
So yeah.
Okay. So another question would be, there was once when I got in touch with someone who was into wood making, and what he shared with me was that a lot of artists kind of like stamp their wood work, especially even like furniture and things like that, because when they pass on, that furniture usually becomes a lot more expensive than what it was worth. Is that the same with pottery?
I don't know if it's the same with pottery, but I think it's similar with painting. Yeah, the value might increase, especially when more people get to know about your work. So having a maker's mark and a symbol that represents you is really important.
Oh, that's cool. So is it like a signature, or is it like just a name, or it's actually just up to anybody who signs and stamps?
Yeah, it's really up to anyone. Personally, for me, it's a traditional lettering of my name in Chinese, and then I turned it into a vase.
Oh, that's really nice. You have like this like very elegant vibe.
I try.
Wow. Okay, so if you guys are interested to check out Dawn's works, you can actually check out her website, which is... Oh, she got it on her slides as well. Okay, you can check it out on the slides.
My email's there, but yeah, it's dawnquangallery.com.
And it's actually very interesting gallery because it's a display of all the things you have, right?
Oh, it's also actually because my parents, they turned our home into like a home gallery where they like inserted all the tracking on the walls and like, yeah, they hung up as many paintings as possible so that buyers can come down to our home and browse.
Wow, and they're all your works.
Because
Yeah,
I'm the
very
only
supportive. They're very supportive parents.
Yeah, they are.
Would you say that they're the biggest support to have helped you get
Definitely,
this
yeah.
far? What about if you had to give just one tip to anybody out there who wants to be an artist, a craftsman, what would be? What would be it?
Give me a moment.
Have supportive parents.
I think don't be afraid to listen to that inner voice, no matter how soft it might be.
Understand if it's screaming, let me do this. I want to quit my job and do it now. I will do it.
Do it, yes.
Okay. So jokes aside, we're very near the end of today's show, and yeah, thank you for all of you guys out there who have been watching. I hope you guys gained some real insight on how you can make your passion sustainable, and especially for those of you who are pursuing a similar line of work as Dawn, I hope you guys have kind of like learned some big tips on how you can continue pursuing that passion. And if you have a unique profession of your own, or you have a friend with a unique profession and you guys are willing to share, please contact me and join us on the show. It would be really, really fun. If you would like to get in touch, you can contact me on my Facebook page at GladysBYT or on my IG page at GladysBay_. And for your information, Dawn's ones is at Dawn Kwan.
Yeah.
Basically, very similar.
Yeah.
Our IG names are very similar. It's just our name and our surname. Yeah, so that's it for today. Thank you once again for those of you out there who have joined us on the show since the start. See you guys next week, same time, Sunday, 8 p.m. Bye!
Thank you, bye!